While I'm working on the next season of the Radio Vagabond, I'm going to give you some flashback episodes that you might have missed. This one was recorded in November 2016, so in the very early days of my journey, and I call this episode A Ship on Pillars. And yeah, that's technically what it looked like. On the radiovagabond.com, you can see pictures of this ship on pillars. I'll put a direct link in the notes for this episode. So just look at your podcast app and it should be there. The next season will be from North America, and we start that one Wednesday, March 3rd. Okay, let's go to Singapore.
And since I have to pay for the ladder, so might as well I hire the guy to change my light bulb. So
that is the high class life of a Singaporean. Hire someone to change a light bulb.
Yes.
Meet Palebo, a digital nomad from Denmark on an epic journey around the world. At the age of 50, he made a bold decision. He sold everything, his house, his car, his furniture, and set out with a quest to visit every single country in the world, documenting everything along the way. This is the Radio Vagabond podcast.
I'm still in Singapore with my new friend, and today we're going downtown.
So Tony, we made our way all the way to the river now, and this is the more fancy part of Singapore.
Yes, we are. We are walking along the Singapore River, and we are heading towards the Boat Quay area.
This episode of the Radio Vagabond podcast is sponsored by Hotels25.com. Hotels25.com searches all the top travel sites to find the best deals on more than 430,000 hotels around the world. Hotels25.com, it's best price guaranteed.
Right in front of us, I can see the very unique, iconic building of Singapore. A big part of the Singaporean skyline.
Yes, it is. It's one of the latest attractions in Singapore. Is the Marina Bay Sands.
And if we should describe it, it's like three big buildings next to each other, and sort of a roof that goes on top of all of them.
Yes, correct. And I think they describe it as a ship on top of three pillars or something. Yeah, that is the Marina Bay Sands, the hotel part of Marina Bay Sands. And because Marina Bay Sands has got the hotels, and the other part is the casino and exhibition halls. Yeah. So the three that is like on the iconic pictures of Singapore skylines is the Marina Bay Sands Hotel.
Yeah. And right in front of us here, on the other side of the river, there are, I would say, maybe 10 skyscrapers.
Yes. Those are the CBD, the Central Business District area.
And they're extremely close to each other.
Yes, they are. Yes, Singapore is one of the highest density populated city. Yeah.
I feel this is quite different than Little India.
Yeah, it is. Okay,
Can we cross here?
So right in front of us is the Parliament building.
Oh, that's the Parliament.
Yeah.
Okay. And talking about the Parliament, you have a president here, but it's sort of a president that has no real power.
Yes, so they elected the president, but most of the power belong to the parliaments, where each district in Singapore is being represented by either a single member or a group of member of parliaments, where they decide in the parliaments, and they will vote on policies, national policies, including electing the prime minister himself.
Yeah. So is it a good and fair system? If I ask you,
if you're to, probably yeah. I mean, like, people chose whoever that they believe can represent themselves, and yeah, they will bring it out. I mean, they choose the person who they believe will best represent them. So probably.
When I look at this, the amazing skyline, and then in front of the buildings, there are some small buildings with restaurants at the bottom. It reminds me of Nyhavn in Copenhagen, right next to the water. But right behind it are gigantic skyscrapers. Are these old buildings?
Yeah, this is like one of the things that I would say Singapore is really good at in terms of like preserving the old buildings and like leaving the details and just basically like preserving the whole culture and architecture. Yeah.
But it's such a strange view, because I can just imagine being here 50 years ago or 100 years ago, and there was just skies or trees behind those buildings, and now skyscrapers right behind them.
Yes, correct. Yeah, even some of these buildings, they are actually like built on a reclaimed land. Yeah, so it used to be like a waterfront.
Yeah, there's a lot of land being... Singapore's growing and still growing. I hear that by 2030, it's actually twice the area of land than it was in the beginning, because they're reclaiming land.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. But you say that this harbor used to be, when boats were coming from the sea, they were going into this area?
Yes, so there's this particular curve along Singapore River, like the most pointed end, where actually this the loading unloading dock. So there's like kind of like the first point of entry if anyone would come into Singapore to do trade in the olden days, and they would just unload their goods and then they bring it probably another 1 kilometers into what is the currently Lau Pasar. Lau Pasar means old market. Yeah, that's where they sell their stuff.
We're at an old iconic bridge, the Kavanaugh Bridge, and I noticed there's a sign that says something about cattle and horses. By order by the chief of police officer.
Essentially, this is the place where the British kind of like trying to control the locals, and this bridge is the one that actually breaks the people apart, because the British is just like trying to control the locals, and the locals is not even allowed on British land. Yeah.
No, and then there's this sign. It's a very old sign. Let's just read what it says. Police notice Kavanaugh Bridge. The use of this bridge is prohibited to any vehicle of which the laden weight exceeds 3 CWT. I don't know what that is. And to all cattle and horses.
Yes, because the olden transportation modes by the locals is all horses carriages and cattle carriages, so they aren't even allowed on this side of the land. So yeah, they can't even cross the bridge to meet any British guy. It's only the British guy can go to their land.
Yeah. But the big question is, can you cross in a Segway?
Oh.
There you see, they never thought of that when they make the sign.
Probably you can. Oh, maybe still, since the notice is still there, maybe you still cannot bring in your cattle and the horses. That's interesting.
And then there's the Fullerton Hotel right across the bridge. We're walking on the bridge right now, and this looks like an amazing hotel with pillars. But you say it used to be the old post office?
Oh yeah, the Fullerton Hotel used to be like the Singapore's first post office, which is now into one of the most expensive hotels in Singapore.
Probably the world, if I look at it.
It's pretty iconic.
So Tony, you were talking about that people don't paint their own houses.
Yes, they don't. They don't normally do that in Singapore,
and don't really do handiwork. So most people, they don't own a hammer or a drilling machine, or
high chance they won't own one in their house. So normally we call people to do it for us.
So let me just get this straight. If you want to hang a picture on your wall, you hire someone to do it.
Yes, if you need to drill a hole, yeah.
If you need to drill a hole. And we need to get on the MRT here. And you even told me that at some point you were to change a light bulb in your apartment.
Yes, there was one time that I had to change a light bulb, and I do not own a ladder to go up, so I have to find one, and I kind of have to rent a ladder. And since I have to pay for the ladder, so might as well I hired the guy which costs almost the same price to change my light bulb. So yeah, there it is. So
that is the high class life of a Singaporean. Hire someone to change a light bulb.
yes. Of course, people don't do that all the time. It's just like the exceptional cases that have to.
No, and if you could stand on a chair, you would.
Yeah.
I could teach you. I could teach you how to change a light bulb.
All right. Thank you so much.
We are now in Chinatown, and my good friend Tony took me to this Chinese restaurant for dim sum. So the food is on the table now, and dim sum literally means small dishes?
Yes.
It's like tapas in Spanish.
Yeah, you would say that, yes.
So we were ordering something very Chinese, except for the chicken feet. You're not a big fan?
I personally don't like it, but it's a kind of like a classical dim sum dish that normally people order when they're having dim sum.
But other than that, we have some local stuff. What's on the table?
Okay, so currently we have siu mai. Siu mai is a pork dumpling, a steamed pork dumpling. And we have the crispy yam dumpling, in which is a yam ball filled with good stuff like pork, pork, mushroom, carrot pieces, and they kind of like deep fried it. And we have the baked egg tart in front of us, which is kind of like a pastry with egg custard filling on.
And then of course some Chinese tea.
Yes. So Tianxing is normally mostly you can find it a lot in Hong Kong. It's a kind of like a Cantonese kind of traditions. So it's normally people eat it super early for breakfast with porridge or congee and stuff, or you have it for afternoon tea break snacks. So normally people will come and have it with Chinese tea.
So that's afternoon tea right now.
Yes. Yeah.
Let's try it. So we're going for the dumpling. What's to describe a dumpling for people who've never heard of it?
Describe dumpling.
It's some kind of dough that's been boiled or steamed, or how does it work?
Okay, so how they make it is actually depends on different region to region, but they will make a mixture of meat paste. So they have minced pork with mushroom. Sometimes they will add like minced prawn, and then they kind of like make it into a ball, and then they wrap it in some kind of dough sheet, and then they will steam it. Yeah, so it's kind of like an open dumpling. Yeah, so in Chinese, so they have like a lot of types of dumplings. They have like the open one and they have like a closed one. So this is one type of open dumplings where you can see the meat. Yeah.
So I'm having the dumpling in my chopsticks right now, and trying not to drop it. And I dip it in this, the sweet chili sauce here. Whenever I'm in a new place, I love to look at the historic buildings of an old quarter of a city. But I must admit that I'm also a sucker for new creative architecture. I'm not a big fan of the ordinary square boxes, but something like the iconic Marina Bay Sands Hotel, you know, the ship on top of 3 pillars, as Tony described it, I could just admire it for hours. And right beside it is a building that looks like a lotus flower. One of the things that made the biggest impression on me was going on top of the ship. Up there you have the most amazing view of the city. There are bars and restaurants, and even a big infinity pool where you can lie in the water overlooking the city high above the ground. But unfortunately that was only for hotel guests.
Tony and I also went for a walk in the park behind the hotel called Gardens by the Bay. And it was like walking into a different world. Almost like being in the Avatar movie. It's not only a park, it's more like a work of art. Take a look at the pictures on theradiovagabond.com and you'll see what I mean. Even though I only spent a few days in Singapore, not enough by the way, I feel that I got to know the place, and thanks to Tony and his hospitality, I learned so much about Singapore. And I would love to come back and explore it some more. The best thing about this weekend in Singapore was that I made new friends. This episode of the Radio Vagabond podcast is sponsored by Hotels25.com. Hotels25.com searches all top travel sites to find the best deals on more than 430,000 hotels around the world. Hotels25.com, it's best price guaranteed.
In next week's episode on the Radio Vagabond podcast.
I'm on my way to Malaysia and Kuala Lumpur, and I'm so looking forward to that.
If you like this podcast, please subscribe in iTunes or the podcast app on your smartphone. You can see pictures, watch videos, and read much more on theradiovagabond.com. Pale can be reached for interviews and public speaking gigs on mail at theradiovagabond.com.
My name is Pale Bo, and I gotta keep moving. See ya.